Internet, hello you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about Jackass Best and Last. One of my most anticipated movies of the year, and the only logical comparison I have for it of the entire 2026 movie season is Jackass 5. Reminded me a lot of Toy Story 5. And that is a very interesting experience because they're both about millennials aging. It is a very interesting experience featuring characters, in this case, a little older than me, whereas Toy Story a little younger than me, but about the experience of what it looks like to see a new generation, what it looks like to age, what it looks like to see this fifth installment look at the experience over 30 years of time. Now, Jackass 5 is a very interesting formatted film, and it's not going to be for everybody, just as Jackass isn't for everybody. It is a movie that is three kind of types, right? It is a movie that is about 40% greatest hits, and that is just a nostalgic journey to really compare us to the present, which is about 30% new stunts, new insanity, the guys at their current age. These are 50-year-old dudes that are doing stuff most 20-year-olds wouldn't dare to do, but at a seasoned age of 50. And that, like I said, the modern stuff is about 35%. And then there's about 25 to 30% footage of stuff that we've never seen before. A few of them I had never even heard existed, including the opening stunt, which we'll talk about here in a second. I'm not going to give it away, but I'm going to talk about it. So I'd say, 30% for easy math, 30% new, 30% I'd never even realized existed, 40% kind of a greatest hits experience. And that really serves the narrative of Best and Last in that it's a goodbye. And I don't know if the new stuff would work as well without looking back. So it did admittedly take me a little while adjusting to what in lesser hands could have been like a clips show. And at first that's what I thought, and that's what it felt like. For like 10-15 minutes I was like, oh man, I don't know if this is going to hit as hard as Jackass 1, 2, 3, or 4. But once I got into the rhythm of it, it's so great when you're looking at your past and your present to see the difference. And if there wasn't as much past, you wouldn't have seen, a teenage Steve-O, a super young Pontius, and then see their modern comps. You wouldn't see the journey of all of the different Knoxvilles and everything he's experienced. You wouldn't get, remembering Ryan Dunn and getting the experience of seeing that, these guys have reached this age, and he had a birthday the week before, the movie came out, and he never got to see it. Like, a lot of those things really emotionally hit you because of looking back. And there's also, for me personally, a lot of remembering who I was at the ages I was watching these guys then. So it wasn't just about reliving the stunts and reliving the insanity of, say, the first Poo Cocktail with Knoxville in an outhouse, into Poo Cocktail Supreme, which is Steve-O being launched into the stratosphere in an outhouse, covered head to toe, just vomiting and covered in shit and having the worst experience. That arc, it also reminds you who you were the first time you saw that stunt into the next stunt and all those things. And it's oddly introspective and reflective, and that's why it made me think of Toy Story 5. These two fives made me remember who I was when each installment came out. Now, in the case of Toy Story, I was Andy's age in the first film. I was in my first full year in LA in Toy Story 3 when they said bye to their childhood. And now, slight spoilers for Toy Story 5, there's a wedding subplot in Toy Story 5, and that was the last film I watched before my wedding. This was the first film I watched after my wedding, the first premiere, the first new movie, the first event I saw after my wedding. And it just made me look back at like Jackass, the show. I was like 11. I remember getting CKY VHS tapes out of trunks from skateboarders and stuff, like trading VHS tapes. And I was like a kid. And then through high school, Jackass on, DVD. I remember I brought that to like a beach house the year I graduated high school, like 06. I brought the series, the whole series on DVD, and we watched it constantly. And that was formative. And I think at that point, Jackass 1 was the one that went out, maybe Jackass 2. But then I worked at a movie theater for Jackass 2, and I remember like the stupidity we got into and how much we wanted that. I would say each of the films hit me at a different, very important point in my life. And this one, really interesting, hit me right after my wedding. And I know I'm about 10, 15 years out from, where these guys are in their life. Obviously, they've been through more head trauma, more life experience of physical breaking than me. But it really hit me like aging, seeing age happen in a film like this, seeing these guys that we've, known through these stunts for 28 years, seeing them age makes you aware of your own experience. And so it was really emotional. The opening stunt is one of the craziest things I've ever seen put on a big screen. I can't believe they got it cleared. I can't believe lawyers let them do it. I can't believe it exists. I can't believe it is such an insane stunt. They had to keep up the "don't do this" warning throughout the stunt. They didn't just flash the, crossbones or the crutches and skull. It stayed up. And the whole time, it's a Johnny Knoxville stunt. And I think Spike Jonze is yelling, PJ, and telling him to move it along and trying to get the stunt going. But each moment, there's like a bunch of beats in it by the nature of the stunt. And each time a beat hits, you are like, and Knoxville make it. Like, he's here. I was at the premiere. He was in the theater. But like, he's alive. And this stunt is so harrowing. You're like, dude, I can't believe it exists. I know why it never aired until now. And now that it's archival, they're able to play it. But it is crazy they got it cleared. It is a beautiful way to open the stunt experience because you see what they were willing to do in 1998 for us. And then the journey of what they've done for us through 2026. It's beautiful to say bye to these guys in a full like denouement. I would describe this film as a denouement. I think Jackass 4 is the last full film. This film is a medley of clips and new stunts. So this feels more like an epilogue to the Jackass Saga. But it's so beautiful to see in a theater. It is so wonderful to share those laughs, to share that pain, to share those gross outs. There's a lot more Bam. They bring back a lot of Bam Margera stuff. He's not in the new stuff, but it's beautiful to see that, as he's getting clean and doing better, they really wanted to include him in a lot of the flashback stuff. Obviously, he's in a ton of it, so they were going to anyway, but it feels like they gave him some beautiful spotlight moments, to see the evolution of, and that's kind of how it reminded me of Toy Story 5 is like, you've got the old guys, like the old toys, the Buzz, the Woody, the Slinky Dog, Rex, and that's your, old school, your Steve-O, your Knoxville, your Bam, your Preston, your Wee Man, and then, as Danger Aaron gets more and more prominent throughout the first three, and as different characters, and then this new era. This one's very Poopsies heavy. I talked to Steve at the premiere, and he says Poopsies MVP of movie 5. So Poopsies might be the high bar to reach here. But it's cool to see the new toys take over in the new era of Jackass and connect to them in a new way through this film. It has a bunch of my favorites, greatest hits, like the Brad Pitt stuff showed me that these Jackass guys are being taken seriously. It also made me respect Brad Pitt more for being willing to do this stupidity. Like it made me like Jackass more and Brad Pitt more when that happened. And that was a clip they chose to highlight, and it was really rad to like look back at Fight Club era Brad Pitt and be like, whoa, the 90s, early 2000s were a different era. It highlighted some of my favorites, like the car up the bum, a lot of little vignette moments, like flashes of 30-second, like in between all the new stuff. The new stuff's insane. I'm not going to give you any of it away because I want you to experience the film. I want you to experience the new stunts. I don't want to give anything more away. This concludes my thoughts. I do want to say, though, it is a theatrical experience. The theater is important. Jackass 4 was literally the first movie that made me cry after the pandemic. I saw Jackass 4 in theaters, and that communal experience made me weep. I was so emotionally just happy to be in a crowd of people laughing at Jackass again. I never thought we'd get that back. It was such a relief, and I remember that was such an emotional catharsis. And so I think Jackass 5 in a theater is so needed. We need these laughs. We need this heart. We need all these dicks and butts. We need it for cinema. And I'm just so happy there's another one. So it might not be my favorite. It is not my best of the Jackass. I think that might be 3, could be 4, could be 1 or 2. I don't know. But it is the last. It is definitely a beautiful ending to Jackass, and it's definitely worth seeing it in a theater with a crowd, to experience it with people. That is how it's meant to be experienced. Check out Jackass Best and Last. What a beautiful send-off. And what an end to childhood, at least for me. For my generation, this feels like the end of something. And I'm very grateful for these men's service and all they've given us with their bodies and their minds. What a fucking time. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Jackass stunt is. I've got so many. The crazy the Brad Pitt kidnapping is definitely one of them, just for stakes, but like Poo Cocktail Supreme stands out. Anything with the bull, like the final concussion of Johnny Knoxville is absolutely insane. I mean, Party Boy in all of his iterations. There's so many, but I would love to know your favorites in the comments below. I'd love to know what you thought of Jackass Best and Last, and let me know what your experience of Jackass has been these 30 years. It has made me a different person. I would say, last thought, if Jennifer Lopez is responsible for Google Images because of the green dress, I would say Jackass should be credited for at least some responsibility of getting us YouTube. I think without CKY, without Jackass, without all these videos being shared, I don't know if we do uploading videos to the internet. I don't know if that happens, and then I don't know if YouTube happens after because of it. So if we're crediting J-Lo, it's pretty direct. J-Lo equals Google Images, but at least peripherally, Jackass equals YouTube. So you're watching this right now, thanks in part to Jeff Tremaine, Johnny Knoxville, Steve-O, Bam Margera, Wee Man, Ryan Dunn, Danger Aaron, all those guys. So respect to their names. Jackass forever. Jackass Best and Last. Comment, like, subscribe, press buttons. If you like videos about movies, TV, comics, subscribe. If you like this video, like, press buttons. Appreciate you guys. Bye.